Alright guys, before we get into the podcast, let's get through the rigmarole first. Remember guys, this podcast posts each and every single Wednesday. The first segment of the show, we go through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. The second segment of the show, we go through all the AFC East news you need to know about. The third segment of the show, we preview all the players you need to know about on game day. The fourth and final segment of the show, we go through the Miami Dolphins fan Q&A. So the first news story is obviously very sad. The Dolphins will officially not, this report comes from ESPN and Jeff Darlington of ESPN, the Dolphins will officially not play at Hard Rock Stadium due to Hurricane Irma that is approaching Florida very fast. So the possibilities of what the Dolphins might do, and this is all the options on the table as of right now, this is the latest news at least we have on it, and a final decision will be made later today on Wednesday. So the Dolphins might play at Philadelphia Eagles Stadium, or they might play at Heinz Field and Steelers Stadium. Those are the most likely options if we were to go with a neutral site. Some people have thrown around Jacksonville as a possibility, but as of right now, those are the two strongest candidates to play are Heinz Field and Eagles Stadium. So keep your eye on that as a neutral site. I think that's a better idea than Jacksonville, because Jacksonville is obviously closer to Tampa, but we'll see. I think that's a better neutral site in my opinion. And Dolphins fans, you travel well as well, so I like that site more than I do the Jaguars Stadium. And another possibility, which is the worst and by far the worst possibility, is the Dolphins might have to move their bye week to week 1 basically, and just not have a bye week the entire season. And obviously players have voiced their opinions on that. The Dolphins press asked Jay Cutler, Jarvis Landry on that situation, and they both said it would be terrible for the team. Adam said it would be terrible for the team when he was asked about it. Obviously that's a very tough stretch to go through. We have a week 11 bye. And obviously after that bye, we have a very tough stretch of games there, and that's a playoff stretch, and the bye week, that's a perfect place to have the bye week. I remember when I reviewed the schedule, that was perfectly placed, and to have that taken away would devastate. I mean, it would definitely hurt the team a lot. So I guess it would a good word to use. It would devastate the team, and hopefully, I don't even care if we play in Tampa. I don't care, as long as we don't have that bye week taken away. I think that would be the worst thing, is moving that game to week 11. That would definitely be the worst possibility. All right, so the next news story comes from the fan side, Finsiders.com, and this is the Miami Dolphins final practice squad. So in case you guys didn't hear, here is who made the final practice squad. Drew Morgan at wide receiver, Malcolm Lewis, tight end Thomas Durante, running back Davion Smith, tackle Sean Hickey, defensive end Cameron Malveaux, cornerback Jordan Lucas, and quarterback Brandon Doughty. The Dolphins have also placed Ted Larson on IR after releasing Sam Young on Saturday, re-signing him on Monday. Miami has not made any roster moves since then. So I think we added Trevor Riley to the practice squad today, as well as Gabe Wright. Gabe Wright was also added. So the final 10 again. The final 10 practice squad players are Drew Morgan, Malcolm Lewis, Thomas Durante, Davion Smith, Sean Hickey at tackle, defensive end Cameron Malveaux, cornerback Jordan Lucas, and quarterback Brandon Doughty, Gabe Wright, and Trevor Riley at linebacker. So that is your 2017 Miami Dolphins practice squad. Obviously, there's some really good names there. Obviously, we definitely didn't want Drew Morgan. A lot of people were scared that he was going to be a Patriot. Malcolm Lewis, who had an interesting offseason. Obviously, Thomas coming back is huge. Davion Smith, who I didn't expect to be on the practice squad, because he got a limited amount of time in preseason, and that should tell you a lot of a player. If he gets limited snaps, and obviously the coaching staff might not be as high on him as other guys, but obviously Shamash Perry making the actual 53-man roster had a lot to do with that, which surprised a lot of people that the Dolphins kept that many running backs. But so that's your final 10 Miami Dolphins practice squad. I like it. I like the guys that we kept. Some of the guys that, obviously, some notable guys that I'm upset about that aren't on the roster anymore. Neville Hewitt being one of them. I think that was a mistake. It's going to be interesting to see how that linebacker core plays out. But I thought the linebacker core would be stronger if the lineup was Ray Maluga, not Ray Maluga, Neville Hewitt, Lawrence Timmons, and Kiko. I thought that would have been the best lineup, and I would have had probably Lawrence playing in the middle and then Neville on the outside as well as Kiko. So yeah, there were some ups and downs to the cuts, but I think overall the practice squad looks very nice. And I also got a chance to watch some more Justin March Lillard. He's very athletic. I like what I've seen so far of him. So I thought that was a good move overall. I couldn't really voice my opinion on him that much because I haven't watched a lot of him, but he had a pretty good preseason. So, all right. So moving on from that story. Next up, the Dolphins have claimed kicker Cody Parkey, which has been a very controversial thing among Dolphins fans. This report comes from Roy Parks of Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins have claimed kicker Cody Parkey off waivers from the Browns, per Tom Palesso of the NFL Network. Parkey will provide competition. Obviously, this is an older report, but obviously Andrew Franks was cut, who missed a 40-yard field goal in the team's final preseason contest on Thursday. Parkey made 80% of his field goal attempts, 20 of 25 for Cleveland last season, while Franks completed on just 76% of his attempts, 16 of 21 for Miami in 2016. So, Andrew also made a 50-yarder, which was his career long in preseason. He didn't look terrible in preseason. Obviously, I think he missed a 40, 30-yarder. I can't remember. So, I mean, I really don't. Obviously, Andrew Franks basically kicked us into the playoffs with 2 field goal kicks, actually. One against Arizona, and then the other one was against Buffalo. The only thing that I have question marks about Cody Parkey, obviously, he missed the game-winning field goal against us in our game against Cleveland. Does he have the clutch gene? I would have to go back and look at all of his kicks. I think if he made the kick against San Diego, that was obviously a very clutch kick. That was the only one Cleveland had all season. So, I would have to go back and watch some of his kicks. I haven't seen all of them, but there is a question there in the clutch. Can he make the kick? We'll see. I'm actually not as upset as most people are. Obviously, I love that the fact that we kept Hawk as our punter, Matt Hawk, instead of Matt Dart. I think having a left-footed punter is it's a mental thing with returners. Obviously, it's spinning differently. It's coming at you from a different angle. It's just different because obviously the majority of the kicks you handle are from right-footed punters. So having the left-footed punter, I think, is a strategical advantage, and it messes with the returner's head a little bit. And obviously, Bill Belichick is famous for it as well, so it works for him. It's going to work for us. I like and obviously Hawk had a tremendous preseason punting as well, so he had that one insane kick, I think, against Philly. I think it went like 80 yards or something like that. It was crazy. So I actually like our kicking moves. Andrew, he doesn't have a good leg. He's not a very powerful leg, so you can understand why Dan Rizzi, and I trust Dan Rizzi. He's an obviously tremendous special teams coach, so I trust Darren and his decisions. He's never really, other than Caleb Sturgis, probably, I really can't think of anybody he's really messed up on. So yeah, if you think about the punters he's had, Fields. His first name is, he was our punter for years, but his first name is escaped. He's done a great, my point is, he's done a great job with the special teams unit overall, so I'm not upset with the moves. Okay, so this next news story, Alex Boone would be interested in playing for the Miami Dolphins. This is also an older report. This comes from Roy Parks of Pro Football Rumors. Alex Boone, who was surprisingly released by the Vikings yesterday, would be interested in playing for the Dolphins, according to Joe Shad of the Palm Beach Post. A 14-game starter for Minnesota in 2016, Boone ranked as the NFL's number 37th guard among 75 qualifiers per Pro Football Focus, which assigned him high marks for his pass blocking but poor scores in the run blocking game. But Boone would represent a significant upgrade for Miami, which is looking to stay afloat in the AFC East and get back to the playoffs for the second consecutive season. The Dolphins project starting left guard Ted Larson will at least miss the first 8 games of the season with a bicep injury. And if they do not sign Boone, a player like Jesse Davis or Anthony Steen would fill in at left guard. Boone, 30, might not be the same player he was during his peak years as a 49er, but he still is a quality starting option. Just last spring, he was one of of Minnesota's most prized free agent additions, signing a 4-year, $10 million guaranteed deal. As Shad writes, Miami's offensive line coach Chris Forrester was the 49ers offensive line coach in 2009, Boone's first year in San Francisco. In 2015, Boone's first year in the Bay Area. Perhaps that connection will help the two sides reach a deal, assuming the Dolphins are interested in acquiring Boone. As of right now, there have been zero updates on whether the Dolphins have reached out to Alex. I think if the Dolphins were interested, it would have already happened. I think the Dolphins are very comfortable. If you're not a Dolphins fan, and you look at the guard situation, you're like, oh, who is Anthony Steen? Who is Jesse Davis? Obviously, Anthony Steen, not a bad guard whatsoever. Obviously former Alabama product. I think he's a very solid guard. I don't think he's anything special. He's nothing great. He's not, outstanding at one thing. He's very solid across the board. And I love his pass blocking. I think that's probably the best aspect of his game, and which is what we're going to need against this front seven. So, Anthony has put some good tape together last year, obviously. He put some really good tape together, especially his first start against Seattle, which I bring up every time I talk about Anthony Steen. But I love Anthony. I think he's a solid guard. I think the Dolphins are comfortable with who they have, or they would have gotten Alex Boone. Is Alex Boone an upgrade from Anthony Steen? Absolutely. Is he? He could also be an upgrade from Ted Larson as well. So you can make an argument that the Dolphins should go after Alex Boone. Obviously, cap may be an issue there, and the Vikings did not cut him because of his play. They cut him because of a money dispute. So, very interesting stuff there. I honestly, in my opinion, if I had to guess, I don't think you're going to see Alex Boone in a Dolphins uniform unless things get really bad, which I do not expect them to. I think I think Anthony Steen is going to play well in Ted Larson's absence. Unless an injury happens again with one of the guards, then I would expect Alex Boone to come back. So let's move on to the AFC East news you need to know about. There's not a whole lot of news other than Sheldon Richardson was traded for Jermaine Kearse for the Seattle Seahawks, which everybody has heard about this already. But it's, it was, I think, in terms of the trade, it's weird because obviously the Jets are trying to rebound. I was reading something that was very interesting. Anyway, got me off track. Anyway, the Jets and the Jermaine Kearse traded for Sheldon Richardson. Thank God he's out of the division. Sheldon is a very good defensive lineman and a very, very good run defender and a very good pass rusher for his size. Obviously, we're winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. Sheldon is a very, very good. He's a Pro Bowl caliber defensive lineman. So thank God he's out of the AFC. So every Dolphins fan should give a clap there. We don't have to deal with Sheldon anymore. We still have to deal with Leonard and Muhammad, but it's not. At least that's one less guy we have to deal with. So that's good news for us. This is a very interesting story that is a rumor more than anything. We'll get into something else that I just read that's very interesting as well. I'm getting sidetracked with my notes here. There's mutual interest between Patriots and Anquan Boldin. This is by Zach Links of Pro Football Focus. And let's see here. Anquan Boldin retired from football this summer, and he swears that he is retired for good. However, there was mutual interest between the wide receiver and the Patriots in the wake of Julian Edelman's injury. Ben Vollen of the Boston Globe writes, it doesn't sound like there's anything between the two sides at the moment, particularly since the Bills continue to hold his rights after placing him on reserve retired list. It's hard to see a scenario in which the Bills cut Boldin, lose to sign with a division rival, particularly since his retirement left them high and dry after trading Sammy Watkins in Los Angeles. Boldin turns 37 in October, but he showed last year that he can still be a productive. Boldin joining up with the Patriots seems unlikely, but his itch to play is worth keeping in mind as the season goes on. Obviously, became very clear what the Buffalo Bills' motives were for this season, and that is a rebuilding project. Getting rid of some of their stars. They tried to trade Shady, and I honestly think Nathan Peterman's going to start over Tyrod Taylor at some point this upcoming season. So the Bills are rebuilding, and obviously Anquan didn't want to be a part of that. And I don't know why the Bills would care to cut him, and he got signed by the Patriots. They're not trying to go to the playoffs this year, so I don't understand why they wouldn't. Why they would be hesitant to cut him. Obviously, they own the right, but I mean, they're not trying to. My point is, they're not trying to win. So why would they care if Anquan Boldin, who's 37 years old, would go to the New England Patriots? That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I don't know. Next in AFC East news, the New England Patriots placed Shea McClendon on IR, which is obviously Shea was a very good coverage linebacker for them last year. Bill loves just dropping him back and reading the quarterback's eyes. So, obviously, yeah, there you go. So Shea has been put on injured reserved, so he ain't going to be playing for a while. All right, so I think that's all the AFC East news you need to know about. Yeah, I think that's it. It's all the AFC East news you need to know about. There's a lot of, there were some trades that went down, but other than that, nothing too serious going on here. All right, so let's get into previewing. Well, not previewing because we did that already, but we're gonna highlight some players that obviously are gonna be players that everybody's wanting to watch on whenever we play this game. Hopefully, it's I don't know again. Hey man, let's go play at Heinz Field. Why not? Let's see who shows up to that. I would be hilarious to see who shows up to that game. Obviously, Dolphins fans travel tremendous, so I think we would take over that stadium. So anyway, whenever this game's going to be played, if this game is going to be played, or it could be moved, I think it's going to be played at Heinz Field though, and we'll find out later Wednesday. And I guess I think maybe I'll do an update video on that. But you guys should probably get updated if you care enough. You guys should know about it. But if it does happen, I'm gonna be happy with it. That's my opinion. I'm happier than that happening rather than it being played or moved and taking away our bye week for sure. I know they're taking them. It sucks, and it's a sucky situation to be in. The fact that we're gonna have a home game taken away from us. But hey, it's brighter than. It's better than having a bye week taken away. But anyway, let's get into this. Obviously the big one is Charles Harris. Definitely want to see what the rookie can do his first game out. He's definitely not going to be out there. You're going to see him a lot on third down, obviously. So I want to see him take advantage of those situations against not the most talented offensive line in the world in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have really struggled in pass protection over the last few years. And especially with our defensive line, we can take advantage of that if we can get them in third and long. So if we're up, I definitely, in the fourth quarter, or whenever Charles Harris, that's his role, obviously, closing out games in the fourth quarter, you're going to see him a lot. And on third downs, you're going to see him a lot. So hopefully we see a lot of Charles Harris, and hopefully he makes his presence known, which I think he can against this offensive line. And it's going to be interesting to see who they double team on our defensive line. Obviously, if you're hardcore and you've been following the Dolphins offseason, you've been following this channel, Davon Godchaux is probably the number one guy everybody is excited to see because he's had a tremendous offseason and he is looking like he's going to be very, very good throughout the regular season. And I would expect it. He's been explosive. Man, has he been good throughout preseason. So he is definitely somebody you got. Obviously, the Dolphins plan to have more of a sub-in, sub-out type deal going on with Jordan Phillips and Davon Godchaux. They want to rotate defensive tackles, but I would expect Davon is going to take way more snaps than Jordan, which is a good thing for Jordan because Jordan's the only problem with Jordan is his motor. So him having limited snaps, we should get the best out of him, which is a good thing. And I think Jordan should look at it that way as well. You can get a contract extension if you're a good sub-package rotational guy. If you can give us meaningful snaps, that's a good thing. So I think that's going to be a good thing for Jordan's career. And I think Davon, lining up next to Sue is really going to give Sue by far the best defensive tackle he's played with down here in Miami. It's not even close. So obviously, when the last time Sue had a really good defensive tackle playing next to him was Nick Fairley, and that got Nick Fairley a ton of money because obviously he was getting one-on-ones most of the time, and Davon is a tremendous pass rusher. So that was his strength coming out of college, not run defense, but pass rushing. He's been a tremendous run defender throughout preseason. So I would look for Davon Godchaux to have one heck of a game there. Cannot wait to see what his rookie debut looks like. Him and Charles Harris, and it's really, obviously you want to build your defense from the line out, from the inside out. And the fact that we got 2 studs, in my opinion, in the draft in Charles Harris and Devon Gotcha that's amazing. That's great. I know some people are down on Charles right now. He didn't have, his preseason kind of stock went down from the first game down. I thought his best game came in the Falcons game. He was dominant in that game, and he really showed what he could do. And then from there, it kind of dropped off in the Ravens game. He saw a lot of double teams. And then the Eagles game, he saw a lot of double teams. And in the Vikings game, he didn't get a lot of snaps. So it kind of went down from there. And, Charles Harris has kind of been quiet, especially since he had a very loud offseason. You heard a lot about him. So this week 1 debut, hopefully he makes some plays on third down, which he should. He's got all the talent in the world. And you saw his explosive first step. Having 5 quarterback pressures in that Falcons game, that was displayed beautifully there. So we should see some of that. And obviously Devon Gotcha. I can't, dude. I wouldn't be surprised if Gotcha, tallied up 3 or 4 or 5 sacks his rookie year, because he's a very good pass rusher. So, and he's getting the start, which I did not expect at all in his first season. He's having. I can't wait to watch him, because he has really exceeded expectations. Obviously, some other guys to watch. This Cordrea Tankersley, man. Cordrea Tankersley had a tremendous preseason, and I'm going to get into our rookie rankings here in a minute. But so far, I'm not going to spoil the rookie rankings, but I like Cordrea a lot. And I think he's going to get some snaps in this game. Now, whether that's going to be at the slot position, and trust me, if Bobby McCain slips up, whoever slips up in that secondary room, Cordrea is going to get some significant playing time, because he has. Oh my God, I did not expect that from Cordrea. Devon has probably surprised me the most, but Cordrea has shocked me, man. What a we thought again. At least the Dolphins and I thought and fans thought this guy's going to be a prospect. He's going to at least take a year, basically redshirt a year. Going to be a special teams player, going to be a gunner. But man, has he looked good this preseason, and he looks like he's going to take some meaningful snaps. So we'll look for to see if Cordrea gets some playing time there. Basically my top 3 guys you gotta watch are rookies. And they've had great preseason. Some other guys, some free agent acquisitions that definitely you guys need to keep your eye on. Obviously, Julius Thomas. What is Julius Thomas going to do his first game as a Dolphin? What is he going to look like? What is he going to do? I'm super excited about it. In my preview video, I think the tight ends aren't going to be crucial to this game, but I think if the run game gets going and the no huddle gets going, they're going to make a lot of big plays, because both guys, Anthony Fasano and Julius Thomas. Anthony's a great runner, and Julius really opens up that middle of the football field, and it's going to be really hard for the Buccaneers defense to key on one guy. Obviously, on third down, especially on key downs, at least, you really want to key on Jarvis, because obviously if he's one-on-one, that's all day. So it's going to be interesting to see. There's going to be one guy that's going to be left on an island, and whoever that guy is going to have to make the play. So is it going to be Julius Thomas? Who knows? But it's obviously Dolphins fans are going to be super excited. We haven't had a tight end talent like this since Charles Clay, and I think he's more talented than Charles was. So it's going to be very, very exciting to watch Julius on whatever day we play. Who knows? I'm hoping it's I hope it's on Sunday still, and I hope it's who knows, but. I think Julius Thomas is going to be somebody to really, really watch. I think he's going to make some big plays in this game. And yeah, I think that's all the players that I really think I'm very, very excited to watch this week 1 game. Obviously Jay Cutler, but that's an obvious one. I'm very excited to see Jay Cutler and the way he commands the no huddle. If that is something we're going to use. I really want to see Jade run in this no huddle. He looks so good in preseason, and this offense is so talented. It just gets me excited even thinking about all the weapons we have, and not even just on the skill positions. I'm talking about on the line of scrimmage. We have a ton of talent in that room with Juwan and Laramie, Mike. Dude, those are 3 Pro Bowlers in my opinion. Juwan, if you have 3 Pro Bowlers in your offensive line, you're set with Juwan, Laramie, and Mike, and when you look at the AFC and some of the offensive lines on it, you got the Steelers, who have a very good offensive line. You got the Raiders, who have a very good offensive line with Kletchio, Simile, Rodney, Houston, or Hudson, however you say his name. Donald Penn, and you look at us, we have Tunsil and Juwan and Mike. Those are three young, straight Pro Bowlers, man. You look at the Steelers, they got Marquise, they got Villanueva, they got Mason. So there's some really good offensive lines out there in the AFC, and we have one of the best. And really, to really run that no huddle with that line of scrimmage that we have, hopefully everybody stays healthy. We really can punish teams, and then you got to account for the talent we have at the skill positions with the receivers as well. So we have a lot of talent here. So in terms of previewing things that I really want to see, just the offense in general, I just really cannot wait to see. Like I said, the no huddle with that line of scrimmage, with the running back that we have in the backfield, who's one of the best in the league, if not top 2, not top 3. And then we have the receivers on the outside to get it done. And Devontae Parker. I mean, the list goes on and on with these guys. Devontae Parker. I just talked about all of those other guys. I didn't even mention DP, who would be, who would be a 90 catch guy on any other, any other offense. He would be, he would be the man. So we have so many guys, man. I can't wait to watch them play, wherever we play. One thing that I'm wondering is okay, so obviously we're going to count this as a home game, right? Wherever we play, if we do play in another stadium, so they have to put our logo, right, in the middle of the field. I don't know, it was just something I was thinking about. It just came to me. Hopefully that's what it is. All right, so let's get into the rookie rankings. Let's get into these rookie rankings. We just talked about the rookies. Let's get into the rookie rankings. So I rank three rookies. I was going to say 4, but I'm going to rank 3. And throughout the offseason, obviously we had a preseason. We got a good look at our rookies. So at the number 1 spot, and who has held it for only other than 1 week throughout the preseason, and that's Davon Godchaux. Davon Godchaux, again, we talked about him a lot, so I'm not going to talk about him a ton right now, but absolutely surprised people. Thought he was going to redshirt. Didn't think he was going to get a lot of playing time. Thought he was going to be, at best, a rotational player on third down because of his pass rushing skills. And people forget he has such a low pad level because he's not the biggest defensive lineman in the world, and that seems to be in vogue right now. It seems to be really what teams are looking for in terms of defensive tackles. You really have to get pressure up the middle. That's the most valuable in terms of where you want the pressure coming from is up the middle because quarterbacks can't step up in the pocket. So Davon Godchaux had that. He's not the biggest DT. He's got a very low pad level. Really, I mean, when you look at some of the elite pass rushers in NFL history, defensive tackle, you have Aaron Donald and John Randall, to name a few. So Davon really fits that mold of a very low pad level, quick, athletic, fast, strong defensive tackle that can get after the passer. So really, he's surprised me. He's shown that in preseason. He's gotten penetration in the running game a lot. He's been very consistent about that. Obviously, that short yardage situation in the Falcons week 1 where he just stuffed. I think it was Tevin Coleman, or it was I don't know if it was Devontae Freeman. I can't remember the play, but I don't know who was in the backfield, but I think it was Tevin Coleman, and obviously Tevin's very hard to stop. So, and then he continued that throughout preseason. He just really dominated his matchup throughout preseason. Very excited to see what he can do. So he's my number 1 rookie as of right now. My two, who has finally gotten it 2, and I said that I'm not moving him up to 2 because I wanted to see what he did his last preseason game, is Cordrea Tankersley. I mean, Cordrea had a tremendous preseason. Not only was he consistent, but whew, man, you don't throw Cordrea's way. I mean, he made plays throughout the entire preseason, and I cannot explain to you guys how surprised I am, especially with his technique, because that was the only thing that we were really wondering is, can he clean up some of the errors? Because from the college game, you can get away with being more physical down the football field. You can't do that in the NFL, and we really seen if he could get his hand off receivers and really not rely on that after 15 yards down the football field. It's been totally fine. And Adam Gase pointed out, and he makes a great point, is he's gotten to practice against some really good receivers and different body types. He gets to practice every day against Jakeem Grant, who's a burner, and he's fast and he's quick. He's probably the quickest, one of the quickest people in the NFL. You get a big, strong, physical, great route runner in Leonte Carew. You get Juice Landry, who one day he's going to write a book on how to run her out. And obviously you get a big, physical, dominant outside receiver in Devontae Parker. You get a great route runner, burner, and Kenny Stills. So he gets to see a lot of different. He gets to see every receiver in the book basically every day, and they're the best at what they do. So that's really helped out his development, and you've seen it in preseason, and I think that's why he's gotten a jump start to his career the way he has is because of that. So I can't wait, man. He has surprised me. And not in number 3, and I know people are gonna get like, oh, our first round pick gets bested by a 5th round pick and a 3rd round pick, but I'm not looking at it that way, because I think Charles Harris has had a great offseason. I think he's had a great preseason. One thing that really separates these 3 from ranking, the way I really wanted to rank it, is could they clean up some of the question marks through their offseason. And if you look at all 3 of them, you look at Devon Gottschall, what was his rap? Can he handle bigger offensive linemen, and can he be successful in the running game? Check mark. He's been that throughout preseason. Can Cordrea clean up some of his technique? Can he get his hands off receivers down the football field? Can he get involved in the running game and be more physical in the running game, get more involved, and make tackles? Check mark. He's done that. You look at Charles Harris. Can he set the edge in the NFL? Can he be a more dominant run defender? He has not checked that check mark yet. So that's why he's 3. But the things that he's done well are the things we knew he was going to do well. He's been a tremendous pass rusher. He's got that explosive first step. We've seen that throughout preseason. But the one thing that he hasn't done that the other 2 have answered those questions. And to be honest with you, I don't expect a rookie to answer those questions as fast as the other 2 have, which have surprised everybody. And I don't expect that of Charles Harris. What the other 2 have accomplished has been it's a very rare thing. You don't see that a lot. So I don't expect that out of, so far at least, we've seen that, and I don't expect that out of any rookie that quick. But that's why I have those 2 other over Charles, is because they have been able to clean up some of the question marks that that Charles has had. And it sucks that Raekwon's not playing, man, because God. Oh, that defense! Our defense would be our defense has a very bright future with all of those guys. Having the off, especially with Xavier, who's a 2nd-year player. I mean, very, very, very bright future for this defense. All right, so I think it's time for the fan Q&A. Is it time for the? Yeah, it's time for the fan Q&A. I'm very excited. I know some people were upset that I'll keep this short, but people are upset that I didn't get your questions in. I apologize. If you guys stayed to the end of that last video, it was a shorter one. I was busy. So that's why the video was shorter. And if I miss your question, it's not because I don't want to answer it or anything like that. It's because I was just short on time. And most of the questions that people are like, why didn't you answer my questions? I didn't see, and you didn't comment yet because I already did the video so early on because I had a lot of stuff to do. So that's the reason your questions aren't getting in. It's not because I haven't even seen them. So I've read some of your guys' complaints. That's why. It's not, it's not like why. Like I see a lot of you guys saying, why don't you answer my questions? It's not because of that. It's just because I haven't seen them yet. So if you want to get your question, if you want the best chance to get your question in the fan Q&A, and if you don't want it in the podcast, then you have to get it in super early. So if it's a busier week. All right, so let's get into the fan Q&A. See here. Okay, this first question comes from Powerful Taylor. He says there was a video on the NFL YouTube channel saying 3 reasons why the Dolphins will make the AFC Championship. Do you agree? I thought that was on Good Morning Good Morning Football, and I did watch that video. And I can't remember the 3 reasons right now. I think it was Jay Cutler was one of them, because obviously you can't have a TV segment on the Dolphins with not mentioning Jay Cutler. The other one was, I think, just the offense in general, because it's so talented in the offensive line. And I can't remember the other one, but I think it was Adam Gase. I think that was the other one. So, yeah, I agree that we can do it. Because I think this team is so good. People don't I honestly, Dolphins fans are the ultimate skeptics. Because of just because of we've been through this before, where we think the team is talented and either injuries prevent it from, or just the team doesn't have chemistry, or the coach isn't that good, or the play caller sucks. We've been through it before. But last year, we didn't expect anything from this team, and they went 10-6. So obviously starting off 1-4, that's when everybody really thought, this is not going very well. But I think this team is hungry, it's young, and they know how to win now. And that's the most important thing, is they know how to win. They've gotten to the playoffs. They understand what it takes to be consistent. And that's very, very valuable. So if my reason for the AFC Championship for the Dolphins going to would just be experience, because they know what it takes to get there now. They know what it takes to be a consistent football team. They know not to get down on themselves if things aren't going well for that 1 week, and break your confidence. So they're very experienced, and they know what to do. And not comparing this, but it's a similar analogy. When Don Shula first got here, we started winning. And when they knew what it took to win, because the team was talented, when they knew it, obviously when we drafted Zonka and all, we had that talented backfield and that talented offensive line, getting Larry Little from the Chargers. When the team finally knew what it took to win and what it took in practice and what it took to be consistent, obviously we rattled off 3 Super Bowls. So sometimes it takes a team knowing how to do it, especially a young football team. That team was young. They had to learn how to do it. They learned how to do it, and they were very consistent. And that's what obviously Don really instilled a culture. So I think if I had one reason, it would be that Adam has, one, he has a culture, it's a winning culture, and number 2, that they know what it takes, and they know what it takes to be consistent. So yeah, and that was a problem for many years before this, is just being consistent. And now that they've gotten that, and they have a culture now, a winning culture, we should be good to go. This question comes from This is Patrick. He says, thoughts on Rashawn Scott making the roster over Drew. Very interesting move. Listen, Drew's probably going to get moved, knowing Rashawn and how injured he gets. But one thing I will say about Rashawn Scott, I did in one of the things I said earlier in the year is one of my NFL gems for the Dolphins, that not a lot of people were paying attention to, is Rashawn Scott, because he is, he's been around the team for a while. He's beaten out a lot of talented guys like a Justin Hunter and some of these other guys. Now Justin Hunter, journeyman guy, but I'm comparing him to Rashawn Scott. I'm not comparing him to whatever. He's beaten out other guys, so this guy isn't a slouch. He's in a scrub. He knows what he's doing. Very talented, athletic guy, deep threat. He just can't stay healthy. He just can't he can't get enough reps. So hopefully we see Rashawn Scott finally blossom as a talent and get on the football field. And actually, he's not going to, because of the other guys ahead of him. There's just no way. There's just not enough balls to go around. But if he does, if his number's called, I think he can make the plays. So I'm not down on it. I'm not down on it as much as other people. This is Patrick. Says, what was the worst decision the Dolphins made with their 53-man roster? Neville Hewitt. Probably Neville Hewitt, I would say, by far. And that's not, we have to see how it works out, but I guess I'm going out on a limb here and saying Neville Hewitt. This next question wait, I think I missed one. Make sure I didn't miss one. No, I didn't miss one. This one comes from, Olamide? I don't know how to say your name. Do you think we should have signed TJ Ward instead of TJ McDonald? No, I think TJ McDonald's a better safety. He's more talented. He's more physically gifted. I think he's just a better overall safety. Obviously, TJ's a little undersized. He's not undersized, but he's a smaller guy. Maybe not as athletic. TJ's got better ball skills. He's a better tackler, and they're both really good tacklers. But I like TJ McDonald more, so I like TJ. I would go with TJ. Ronald said, and we signed TJ way before TJ Ward was available. Ronald said, Dolphins have a small window to finally fix the O-line. If they sign both Dorian Johnson and Alex Boone, 2 P.S. and release Hickey. Anybody else disagree? I don't disagree with the Alex Boone thing at all. I agree with that. I think they're comfortable with who they have, though, Ronald, to be honest with you. And I think that's probably the reason why you don't see. And, we've seen Anthony Steen, Ronald. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen it before. So I think we should be. I mean, unless you feel differently about it, I feel comfortable with it. Ricky Ricardo says, what do you think about Alex Boone interested in joining the Dolphins? I like it. I think it's a good idea. Now, this is Patrick says, what are your thoughts on Miami signing Cody Parkey and cutting Andrew Franks? So we talked about this earlier in the show. But I for the reasons that The only question mark I have with the Cody Parkey thing is, does he have the clutch gene? Does he crack under pressure? Because obviously he missed that field goal, and if he did hit that San Diego Chargers field goal, I don't think he did, but if he did, I guess that's you're 1 for 2. But Frank's, he's hit some pretty key field goals himself, and I think the decision was more like, Franks doesn't have a leg. He's very, very, very weak leg, and I think Cody, he's probably the more talented player. I love the other. I don't love that. I love the punter decision. The kicker decision is more of a wait and see thing, but I understand why they made the move. I understand it. The only question I have is, does he have the clutch gene? This question comes from Filosa, or I can't really see your name. It's Filosa. He says 2 questions. He says, hang on a second. I don't know if I just misspelled that or not. I need glasses. Anyway, number 1, he says, is it possible the Dolphins push Cutler or Clyde to utilize plays that favor Stills Parker in order to devalue Landry and sign him for cheaper next offseason? My ultimate fear is him being signed by New England or another AFC East team. As you say, he is the best slot receiver. Losing him in general worries me less than who we lose him to. I see a Welker situation. First of all, I completely agree with you. And number 1, the comparing Wes Welker to Jarvis Landry it's not even close. It's like comparing a turd to a chocolate bar. They're 2 totally different things. So I think that I don't want to. I see some people like, oh, he's a slot receiver. You don't. First of all, we signed T.J. McDonald, who's been on the team less than whatever. And my problem with that is like, all right, I understand that you don't want him to hit the market and, get into a bidding war for him, lock him up now, that way you have him. But who's to say that he doesn't? I mean, TJ, throughout his career, has shown nothing but good stuff, but you don't know. So if the Dolphins are willing to go on a limb for a safety that they have barely seen playing in their building and with their scheme and with their team, and he's playing in a 4-3, he's not playing in a 3-4 anymore. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand why this. Jarvis seems pretty confident that something's getting done. So I don't know. I think something's going to get done. I don't think the whole divide. They're waiting for DP. I think I would say, Chris loves him. Mike likes him a lot, and so does Steven. Obviously, Steven's saying if we have to franchise tag him, we'll franchise tag him. So I'm not as worried for him leaving now than I was before. So that's what I'll say. And I hope if he did leave, we would make sure, if he did leave, hopefully we make sure he's not in the AFC East, because he will haunt us for 10 plus years. 2, should we drop Moore and keep Fales? Hefty price tag for Moore, a backup who in the end did not really make or break last season when Tannehill went down. Ultimately, the games he won under center were due to his performance. So hang on, let me read that again. So should we drop Moore and keep Fales? Hefty price tag for Moore, a backup who in the end did not really make or break last season when Tannehill went down. Ultimately, the games he won under center were not due to his performance. Okay, I understand now. I said that the Dolphins should consider it, for sure, and I still kind of stand by that because, he had a better preseason. David had a way better preseason than Matt did, but there's obviously more confidence in Matt. Obviously, Matt has a very strong resume, in the NFL. He has a very, very strong resume. So it makes sense why the Dolphins are more comfortable, and they're not really taking a gamble because they know what. Oh, excuse me. I don't want to burp into the mic. I know you guys hate that. I mean, who wouldn't hate that? Anyway. But they're more confident in Matt because you could understand if you're... Okay, you're in a GM. You're a GM. You look at Matt, you look at Fales. You saw that Fales had a great preseason. But do you really want him to be the backup to Jay Cutler if Jay Cutler goes down? Obviously, David didn't go against the 1s and didn't go against the 2s or 3s. Granted, Matt Moore did not perform well against the 2s or 3s either. But you do know that Matt Moore is very capable of winning games under center, because you saw it in the past. You saw it in Carolina when he was the Panther, and you saw it in Miami in 2011 when he had to take over for Chad Henne. So as a GM, if you have to make that decision, it's a bigger decision than it seems. So yes, you would keep Matt Moore. It makes more sense to keep Matt, and I agree with it, because it's like, okay, you really don't want to gamble. Okay, David's the guy. If Jay gets hurt, which he has before, David's the guy. You kind of pause when you say that, and you trust Matt Moore because you've seen it before. He won a Dolphins MVP. He's been that guy before. You're more comfortable with Matt, and I'm more comfortable with Matt as well. Putting it in that kind of. Looking through it in that type of a lens, you can understand why the Dolphins made that move. Obviously, you have to, if you're a GM, at some point you do have to factor in price and price tag and everything else like that. But looking at it from this perspective, I would have rather the Dolphins do this and write it out with Matt Moore one more year because of the draft that's coming up that is loaded with quarterbacks. So if the Dolphins really want to, they can in this offseason finally let Matt Moore go, draft their guy to be the backup. So there you go. I think I like that approach more. This question comes from Zach Strong. He says, do you think they will make room for Jelani Jenkins to come back in Miami? No chance. No chance. Jacob says, should Miami sign left guard Alex Boone? They should definitely consider it. Matthew, Miami 1996N says, do you think we should sign Alex Boone or John Greco? Yes, I think the Dolphins should consider signing Alex Boone. Although, I think Alex Boone more talented. Anthony's just fine. Noah Nick Sports 1 says, is Jay Cutler elite? That's a tough question to answer because you watch the year that he had under Adam Gase, and he had a tremendous year under Adam Gase, and he had a lot of touchdowns that were dropped. He had great red zone numbers, and there's some other years without Adam that you're like, that is a franchise quarterback, and he's had games where like that is a Hall of Famer, but there's been years where he's led the NFL in turnovers, 28 interceptions. I'm not going to say over his entire career he's been elite, but I think under Adam Gase, yes, he's been a franchise guy. Power for Taylor says, your top 5 Miami Dolphins of all time. Oh man, that's such a tough question. If I had to, here's what I'll say about this. If I had to sit down and do a list, I think I would go through every decade the Dolphins have been a franchise, and I would choose my favorite player out of the said decade, and then I would cut it down from those players, and then I would make my top 5. I think that's the best way you have to do it, and I would have to sit down and really go through everybody, but sounds like a really fun project. This question comes from Solio. I'm gonna call you 0930. He said, what was the biggest roster move, if any, from the recent cut down to the 53-man roster, and why? Hashtag Fins Nation. Alright, since the fact that I've already said Neville Hewitt, probably, I'm going to change my mind. The thing that surprised me the most, probably, was Smosh Perry. Really didn't see him making the roster, and he did, so there you go. Brandon says, in our receivers will, hang on, something's messing up. Alright, Brandon says, Tampa Bay signed hang on a second. Alright, Brandon says, in our receivers will give Tampa Bay 5... So, you're saying, in our receivers will give Tampa Bay 5'11 DBs trouble with both speed and power and size. How do you think we match up against Tampa? I think that's a great point. You can definitely use size in the red zone when their corners are as short as they are. And you definitely, if you do get one-on-ones and there's no safety over the top, you can take that shot. So, yeah, I think our matchups, we definitely match up well with those guys. And, not bagging on Brent, but he had a long career here in Miami. Not long, but he had a career here in Miami, and we saw that sometimes where he has struggled with guys that have speed and that can run routes. He can be overly aggressive sometimes, and you can catch him flat-footed. So I like our matchup. Brandon says, Tampa Bay signed TJ Ward. Do you think he will be a problem? No. I say that, and now I'm like, TJ's very talented, but he just got there. I guess they're going to play, listen, man, playoff instincts. You've been in the league for how long? You know what you're doing. I guess they're confident in him because of his past. But we'll see. I don't think he's going to, make a ton of a difference. Brandon says, so we kept Mike. He's talented, but we'll see. Brandon says, so we kept Mike Hole again. or nah? So he says we kept Michael Hogan or not. I'm sorry, guys, but I really think he sucks. Um, yeah, Brandon. I wouldn't say really sucks. He's a good backup, a good special teams player. And he does add good depth. I just don't think he's a starter in this league. Brandon says, I think our safeties can defend our young cornerbacks. What do you think about that idea? I think our safeties can defend our young cornerbacks. The only young one, really, I mean, other than that's starting, is X. And I'm pretty confident that he's got it. But if you want to add safety help over anybody, I guess, because I see the matchups going like this. I said this in the preview video. I want Xavier on Djax, and I want Byron on Mike, because I think their skill sets, that's a better matchup. If you want to put safety help and you really want to double team one player the entire game, you do it with Deshaun. You don't do it with Mike. So, and I know that sounds crazy, but that's how I would do it. Okay, this next question comes from Brandy. Says, do you know why we cut Matt Darr and Andrew Franks? I know that, I think what it had to do with Andrew is just his talent was not as good as Matt's, and the Dolphins like Matt's talent more than they do Andrew's. Now, the whole mental thing is a whole nother thing that we're going to have to find out throughout the season, but the punter thing is Matt outplayed, or Hawk outplayed the kicker from Arizona State. He outplayed Matt throughout preseason, and he's a left-footed kicker. So those are the reasons. And he's probably got more leg power, and obviously Matt has some good leg talent there as well. Brandon says, this is to go with my last question. Do you really think Maxwell can control Mike Evans, especially if Winston pulls out one of those scramble drills? The thing here, that's a great point, and I probably should have talked about that in my preview video, is the this whole scramble thing that he does. Obviously, James is a big dude. Very hard to bring down when you get your hands on him. So you got to make sure you bring him down. And the thing that I think the Dolphins, and people forget that we have Will Hayes on the roster, but the thing that people forget is what we did with our defensive ends. We really got way more athletic on the ends. William Hayes ran a 4.6, which surprises a lot of people. That's the same that Myles Garrett ran. And obviously Charles he's very explosive. So I like our contains, and Andre is very, very explosive. If we can just contain him to just stay within the pocket, which I think we have the talent to do, we'll be fine with the whole scramble drill thing. And I like Byron on the, and again, they're gonna make their plays, guys. They're talented. It's gonna happen. We just gotta limit them. Brandon says I like Maurice Smith in Tory McTyer. Do you think they will see significant playing time? No, I don't. Obviously, Maurice is on the practice squad. Tory, no. If injuries happen, I would say that, and I'm confident in Cordray and Tory as well. Brandon says, what is up with the talk about signing Alex Boone? Is that just a rumor, or is it really in the air? How do you feel about Boone? Do you think he can still play? Yes, Boone can still play, and Adam Gase has a very good relationship with him, so that's why it's a rumor. Let's see here. Brandon says, you got what you wanted. Chase Allen is in, a Dion Lacey is out. How do you think we will use Allen? I think Allen's going to get some playing time. Adam Gase was really high on him when they asked him in his latest press conference about Chase Allen, and he was very he's got a chip on his shoulder. He has something to prove. I wouldn't be surprised if he did get a start at some point in the season, because I really would like to see that, just to know what we have in Chase. Brandon says, how many receivers do we keep? I forgot. And did we sign anyone new? I'm trying to. Okay, so on the 53-man roster, there's Juice, Kenny, DP 3, obviously, Leonte, Jakeem, who's a flex, and then 5 is Rashawn. So I think we kept 5, if I'm not mistaken. Brandon says, so Anthony Steen is starting. Now, do you think that he has the toughness we need? He did play for Alabama. Yeah, he's he's a mauler. He's a very physical guy. Gamerific says, do you think Grant will be above Carew? Grant was jumping over 6-foot players at 5'5". Yeah, I think he deserves it. He's played better. Gamerific says, why the potato did Neville Hewitt get cut? He's a free agent. Did he get cut? Yes, he did get cut. Stefan says, with the large turnover at the bottom of the roster, how will special teams be affected by the loss of key players? It's a great question. Obviously we got 5 undrafted rookies that made the roster. we got a lot of young talent here, and I think our special teams is athletic. It's rejuvenated like it is every year. Most of the time our special teams is different, not drastically different, but there is noticeable changes. So I feel good about it. 0930 says, is it possible that the reason the Dolphins haven't extended Jarvis Landry's contract is due to the open investigation with the league, although it doesn't seem that anything is there? No, I don't think that has anything to do with it at all. Ronald says, I don't understand why the Dolphins have not signed Dorian Johnson or guard Alex Boone and Martin Oguai, or Oguai, I can't remember, I don't know. Or am I the only one who thinks so? I think it's here, Ronald, I have to ask you a question. Do you like Anthony Steen? If you don't, then it makes more sense to go sign Alex Boone. But I think the Dolphins, from their perspective, they like him. That's why. Bad Brandon says, do you think the Dolphins regret not drafting Reuben Foster? No, I don't think that at all. I think they were very confident in Raekwon McMillan until he ripped up his knee. Dwight Keller Williams says, do you think that the J plane, making fun of the J train, is going to be open for business week 1? Heck yeah, it is. Get your tickets now. The new linebacker kind of looks like an upgrade from Mike Cole from my perspective, even though he is injury prone. He seems like a decent player who can make some plays. What are your thoughts on him going into the season? I think his name is, it's Justin March-Lillard. Yes, I like him a lot. I got to watch him a little bit, and from what I see, he's a very athletic guy, very quick, and he has potential in terms of coverage. And he's a big dude. He's physical. Jerry Dickerson says, how does the Dolphins defense match up with Tampa Bay's multi-dimensional offense? I answer that in the fan Q&A. Cypher says, Cypher Oxide, he says, if you go to the game on Sunday, will you do a real-life vlog on your experience at the stadium? I think it would be fun to watch. Well, considering there's a hurricane, no. Ronald says, I would trade Terrence Fede to someone for a 4th or 5th round draft pick and bring up Martin in his place. So we have a defensive end other than Cameron Wake to rush the passer, and more than just Hayes at defensive end to be stout against the run. Am I wrong? Are you saying you want Martin to be a pass rusher or be more stout against the run? Because I think Charles Harris is the guy that you're looking for in terms of the pass rusher. I think in terms of run stuffers, I think William Hayes is good enough. Rashawn Scott is garbage. Ronald says, this question comes from Ronald. He says, Rashawn Scott is garbage compared to DeMaurice Stringfellow. 3 off seasons, the piece of bleep can't compete, but beats out guys who go in and play at all pro level. I think the reason DeMaurice is now a New York Jet, now a Dolphin, is because he really didn't show up throughout the rest of the preseason. Brandon, but I do agree with you. Rashawn has not made a ton of plays in preseason, but forget 2 seasons ago, he did make some plays against the Giants in preseason. Bad Brandon says, Scads, do you think the Dolphins will trade up in next year's draft for a top quarterback prospect like Baker Mayfield? It's possible. It's definitely possible. Dwight Keller Williams says, I would prefer them going for someone who could be a prospect like Luke Folk from the Washington State Cougars. Go Cougars. I like the kid Locke from Missouri. He's a later round guy. So let me know what you guys think about Locke. Quarterback from Missouri. Jeff Locke, I think is his name. I watched a lot of him the other day, and I was like, yeah, this guy, he's got a really, really quick release. And he, in terms of in terms of mechanics in his release in the pocket, he is the best release that I've seen throughout. Sam's is really unorthodox, and that's something he's going to have to work on. Josh Allen's release is god-awful, and that needs to change. His mechanics are all over the place. Lamar Jackson's is pretty good, but Locke's is very, I think he is the most NFL. The things that he struggles with, from what I've seen, is ball placement and touch. Those are question marks with him. Bad Bandit says, Skaggs, I'm excited about the TJ McDonald signing, but at the same time, I'm a bit confused that why did TJ, a new Dolphin, get a contract extension before Landry? It's confusing. I don't know. They like TJ a lot, though. I can say that. The Gamer12345 says, why do you think, who do you think wins opening night, Chiefs or Patriots? We're going with Chiefs, guys. Of course we're going with Chiefs. Why will we beat the Buccaneers week 1? I'm not going to answer that because I don't know. I'm superstitious. No, this is Patrick says, will you make a video on the roster moves? Well, that was a very old question, no. The highlight got says, thoughts on Neville Hewitt being cut by Miami. Really didn't like it. I think we're going to have to... we got a few more questions left, too. I think we're gonna have to end it here, guys. I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me, instead of answering. Okay, the questions that were left. The highlight god, thank you for commenting. Zach, Stang, thank you for commenting. Hang on, this thing is messing up. Cody, thank you for commenting. The Dill Pickle, thank you for commenting. Estevan, thank you for commenting. Jay the Boss, thank you for commenting. Ian Good, thank you for commenting. Doggy Dog, thank you for commenting. The Republic Finn, really thank you for commenting. I know you're upset that I didn't get your question in last in the fan Q&A, but you've been a really awesome guy in the community. You've commented for many moons now, and I appreciate you. And that's going to be the podcast for this week, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.